It's hard to believe that in 2018, there are entire communities in Northern Ontario that don't have reliable power. They run on diesel generators.
You got it.
Imagine living in a place where there's not enough power to hook up new houses or provide reliable health care. And there are so many blackouts, it can take up to an extra year to finish high school. But there's a plan to change that.
I can't wait till it starts so that I can hopefully get a job on it and start working on it. Be able to tell my kids, Dad helped build that, Dad helped build the power line.
Kingfisher Lake First Nation in Northern Ontario. The only way to get in and out of here is by plane. Usually if the media visits, it's because of some kind of crisis. But not this time. A $1.6 billion project is going to bring power here. It means hundreds of jobs, and for a place like Kingfisher Lake, it means hope. The sun's barely up, and outside the hotel I meet Greg Smith. Greg's here because of the power line too.
I'm just having my cup of coffee for the morning, getting ready, getting our stuff together, and probably head down to the classroom in about half an hour. So,
Greg is a trainer. He's here to help the people of Kingfisher Lake get a fair shot at finding work on the transmission project.
Okay, quick. This is an opportunity for a job. The point of the course is that you guys get a job.
The 2-week course focuses on work readiness. And in a place where training of any kind rarely happens, and unemployment is a major problem, this is a big deal. And that's why I'm here.
Right? The reality is, this power line should be there for at least 100 years, right? So to me, that says that you can have a job, your kids can have a job, and your grandkids could have a job.
Of course, the training doesn't guarantee a job, but for each of the 13 trainees, there's hope. The stakes are particularly high for Anthony Begg.
Yeah, it's like a second chance to rebuild my life again.
Anthony's story is pretty typical here, in that he dropped out of school partway through grade 11.
I didn't finish because in my teenage years I was heavily in my addiction, like heavily in drinking, doing drugs, doing all that stupid stuff.
Anthony ended up in jail for assault. Not an unfamiliar story either, when you consider Indigenous people make up 5% of Canada's population, but 27% of its inmates. But for Anthony, he tells me jail actually changed him for the better.
Gave me a lot of thought about my future. I was just thinking in there, writing poetry, reading, and I looked around my surrounding and thought to myself, I don't want to be like these people.
If you got a job on the power line, what would that mean to you?
It would mean to me like I'm worth something and be hopeful for my future.
If this project can give hope to a guy like Anthony, I realize this isn't only about electricity.
You guys got such a great opportunity right now, and all the stuff we're teaching you, we can really put a job in there at the end of this, right? Like we can.
Listening to Greg, he's as much a cheerleader as a trainer. And maybe that's something that the trainees need.
I was like so impressed, man. I'm so proud of you guys. Like why not hire 13 guys from the community that want to work? So rather than going that
Greg represents the push to employ local people on the power line project. And if the trainees do well here, there's more opportunity.
What's that?
A 4-month course in Thunder Bay. This is where people from the First Nation communities in Northern Ontario train to actually put poles in the ground. All in all, 1,800 kilometers of power line will have to be run north.
Nick.
Hi, Curtis.
Curtis, what do you guys, how's it going?
That's going good now.
What are you guys doing?
We're just gonna go up to the pole and frame the pole a little bit, and we gotta drill some holes up there. So.
Curtis Ray has a lot riding on this course. He moved his entire family 500 kilometers south to be here. Curtis tells me this is his chance.
I was pretty happy when I got the news. I told my girlfriend, and she told our family, and we had said, okay, we're gonna move out. So, what check are you on?
And what do you want to do with this training?
I actually want to start a career and hopefully help with the project up north. So,
What would it mean to be on the crew that brings power to your community?
I would definitely be proud. It's something I can tell my kids that Dad helped build. So I think it would put a smile on their face.
There's another reason for Curtis to be proud. The First Nations in the North will own 51% of the power line.
We try to work within the timelines been established.
Margaret Kanikwanash is the CEO of the First Nation company, Wataynikaneyap Power. For her, this project is a blueprint for the future.
Our youth today want employment, improved living conditions. Not only that, they want hope in terms of opportunities.
There's still a lot of work to do. Margaret meets regularly with the executives from the partner company, Fortis Ontario.
How do we ensure that training takes place within each of these First Nations? And we have.
Margaret is from one of the communities in the north that runs on unreliable diesel generators. And she's been trying to fix the problem for 10 years. One of the things she tells me she's fought for all along is training for her people.
When you see the young people being trained, what do you think about?
Hope. Keeping the community intact and families intact are also part of the overall vision, and also not relying on, the social, the welfare. As people, we were never on welfare in the past. We were hard workers. We lived off the land, and we had good work ethics, and those are the teachings that we need to revitalize to help our young ones recognize this is where we need to go.
Number two, if I don't.
That's why for Margaret, the training in Kingfisher Lake is key to the plan. She wants to make sure that people don't just have jobs, but careers in their own communities.
I'm just going to explain something to you, student. You got to know that, because you guys got to be trained. And it's going
But back on the ground, the challenges remain clear. Today's class focuses on the basics.
When we say 9 o'clock in the morning, what have we been talking about all week long? 9 o'clock means sitting at your desk at 9 o'clock ready to go. Right, Jared?
It's trainer Tim O'Brien's turn to teach. Now he treats the classroom like a workplace, where he's the tough boss.
I'm trying to prepare you people for the industrial workforce that you're going to be in very shortly. And what we want to do is get that drilled into you so that it's second nature.
Tim tells me he worries about the prejudice the trainees will be up against if they get jobs. He knows because he had to get over his own.
I thought they were all lazy and all this kind of stuff. I didn't like that. I said, they're not. I know people, So I got to go find out what's holding them back.
Do you care about how they do?
I care an awful lot about what they do. I have personally chosen to do this. Rather, like I'm retired. I retired a long time ago, but I didn't know anything about the hardships of people living on a reserve or the First Nations people. I didn't have any clue. I just put them all and painted them all with one brush.
I try to imagine what Tim might have once thought of Leanne Mamakwa. Leanne's 24. She finished high school and did a year of college before dropping out.
What might a job mean for you?
Everything. Because I'm actually sober now.
And it's Leanne who really makes me understand what the power line means for people here.
All my teen years and young adult years, I've been struggling with alcohol and drugs. I'm grateful because you never really see opportunities around reservations, especially for us young people. I noticed that every time I would have a job, I'm sober. But once that ends, and I'm just back into that cycle. And then having a job, I know I have something to live for.
There's little doubt that the power line will improve the quality of life in these communities. But maybe just as important is how the promise of real jobs is already giving people a reason to go on. Nick Purdon, CBC News, Kingfisher Lake, Ontario.
As part of this project, the first community is expected to be hooked up sometime around Christmas. But in Canada, there are more than 200 rural and remote communities still off the grid. The majority of them depend on expensive diesel power generators. So replacing them, the government says, will not just give these communities more reliable power and generate jobs, but will also reduce environmental and health impacts.